Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie Exum, and this is Amanda Russo. We're with the Exum Group at Keller Williams Global East, and we have a very special guest with us today.
This morning we are here with Katherine Autin with Parkinson Partners. So we are so excited to hear about your amazing services and share with our viewers what you do. And you are a caregiver yourself, so you are really coming at this with a hands-on perspective. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
And thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Of course.
My journey was, I started off as an entrepreneur 41 years ago. I started a jewelry company in Fairfax, Virginia. Then I went to New Orleans and opened a store in the French Quarter.
Awesome.
And then we moved here in 1991. And my husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2004. And it was the start of a new journey in our lives. But it was also the start of a new, I guess if you will, career for me. I'm not a medical expert, but Parkinson teaches you very quickly what you can and cannot do. And when my husband was diagnosed, it was a very difficult time, but I learned very quickly that I couldn't just be a caregiver. I needed to be a patient advocate. So in 2012, I started Parkinson Partners to be a patient advocate for others who are going through this journey, to help them with the difficult decisions they have to make, but also to teach them how to communicate with their medical professionals, how to track their medications, and how to recognize things that they need to be aware of.
So there's a lot of people out here that probably have never dealt with Parkinson's or even understand it or know what it looks like. So can you talk about your first signs of thinking this might be coming and kind of how you guys navigated that journey?
Yeah, and that's tricky because everyone with Parkinson's has a different experience. Some people have the traditional tremor that people think of, with Michael J. Fox, you've seen a tremor. Actually, most of what you see with Michael J. Fox is not a tremor. It's called dyskinesia. It's caused by the medication.
So if a family has a loved one who receives a diagnosis of Parkinson's, that's obviously a very overwhelming experience. I think a lot of families probably find themselves just frozen, analysis paralysis. What do you do? That's just so overwhelming. What are your suggestions? Should they reach out to you? What does that look like?
Okay, so I'm a board certified patient advocate as of 2018. And one of the key things that you need to do when you're first diagnosed is find someone who can guide you through the journey. Because if you start doing things quickly, you need to exercise your brain and your body. But you also need to learn to communicate with your doctors, because over time, you're going to change your medications. You're going to change therapies, and you need to be able to know what questions to ask. So right from the get-go, if you can work with someone like me, I am a consultant, you would hire me. But it's the kind of thing where if you have someone who knows the journey, and there are not many of us, I don't know of anyone else that does this the way that I do, but I actually help people by teaching them how to track their medications, tracking their symptoms, tracking their medication side effects, which is key because every medication has a side effect. And then also key questions that they need to ask at every appointment with their doctor. For instance, do I need to take more medicine? Do I need to take a different medicine? Should I change the timing of when I'm taking it? Because I'm not really good in the morning, but I'm really good in the afternoon. Those are the kinds of things that I teach people how to ask. And I am a consultant. I do work virtually right now through COVID. That changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's those kinds of things that I can help with. And then also to help the families understand. So educating, I call it kitchen table educating.
I like
So
that.
I bring the families together, even if we're not in the same community, we can do, Zooms. I do a lot of Zooms.
I know you've also mentioned before, we've talked a lot about the fact that many people dealing with Parkinson's have other co-occurring health issues and may have, tons of medical professionals that are involved, different specialists and things,
Right.
which is hard to navigate that when you've got all these different doctors involved. And that is something you can help support through as well.
Yes, actually, when I work with my clients, they sign an agreement, and part of the agreement is they need to put me on as an additional contact with all their medical providers that are key. If you have a cardiologist, endocrinologist, whoever it is that's tracking some of your key symptoms that you're dealing with in your life. And so what I do is, we'll go to an appointment, or I can do virtual appointments, and I've done that, is I'll pick up on something the doctor might say, and then later I can contact that doctor and say, okay, we didn't really get a clear answer. What do you really want them to do first, second, third? Or did you mean this? Because sometimes they think they're clear and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not their fault. They're just rushing through.
Mm-hmm.
They're busy and they're
Right.
overwhelmed.
Right. And the families don't even necessarily know what to ask.
Right.
No.
So.
No.
Sure. And they're overwhelmed as well and don't know, forget or don't write things down, and then, all the questions. So I'm excited to talk about your jewelry as well and how that ties into your whole journey with Parkinson's and how you use it to support that.
Thank you. I have been in the jewelry business 41 years. I've kept it going with different company names, but I started my first company in 1982. My son was less than 6 months old. And honestly, I just did it part-time. I was working at the National Academy of Sciences in Washington, D.C. And really, I just did it periodically. But over time, we actually moved to New Orleans, opened a jewelry store in the French Quarter, which was a lot of fun because I speak French and Italian.
Ooh.
So it gave me a chance to speak my languages.
Awesome.
But also, it gave me a chance to kind of take it to a different level.
Mm-hmm.
When we moved here in 1991, later on, I opened a store in J-Town, in Jeffersontown, and, did that. But throughout this journey with Parkinson's, when he was diagnosed in 2004, I really did have to pivot, change things. And honestly, now my company, Kat's Jewelry Magic, it's K-A-T, not C-A-T, but Kat's, K-A-T-S, jewelrymagic.com. I do interchangeables, like I'll do pearl and gemstone interchangeable necklaces, earrings, bracelets, and I do one-of-a-kind designs. But I created the company to be able to sell my jewelry to give back to the Parkinson's programs that I believe in. One of those is Rock Steady Boxing, because I have seen that make a huge difference in people's lives, and not just someone who has Parkinson's, but their caregivers.
Talk with us just a bit about what that is for our viewers who don't know.
Rock Steady Boxing was a program that was created in Indianapolis a number of years ago, and it was created just for Parkinson's. So it's not just, it sounds like it's just boxing, hitting somebody, but it's actually all kinds of other kinds of exercises that are mixed together. So you get endurance, you get stretching, you get balance training. Of course, you're going to box.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of thing where it helps your brain, your left and right brain, work together. And you really need to do that for Parkinson's, particularly if you have issues with balance. So I'm a firm believer that Rock Steady Boxing, because I've seen it. I've seen people who are in wheelchairs being able to exercise. Not stand up and, punch somebody out, but to be able to be more mobile.
Well, that's amazing.
And share also, speaking of cathartic, I know you share with us, she's brought something special today that your husband has created.
Yes. When my husband's going through some of his worst times with Parkinson's, he wrote a book of his poetry. And this is Birds Only Sing to Those Who Listen. It's on Amazon. And this is a compilation of poetry that he's written since he was 12 years old. And the silver lining was when he had to retire because of Parkinson's, he was able to put all his effort and be very prolific and write. So I helped him get it published in 2014. And there's a picture of him and my son and our dog.
Gotta have the fur baby.
Right. So I'm really proud of him. He inspires me
Yes,
because
sure.
he has a positive attitude, even though he really is going through a difficult time. I'm his 24/7 caregiver. And I do run the Caregiver Masterminds Group that I
That's
started.
right. Yes.
I started it a year and a half ago in COVID.
And that's virtual as well.
It's virtual. Yep. And that's twice a month. There is a small charge for that, but very minimal. And it's something where you can talk about the down and dirty of being a caregiver and cry and rant and share. We share a lot of tips and ideas.
Yeah, people need that. People need to bounce ideas off each other, or just have somebody listen, or
No, you're not alone.
And we encourage each other. if you need help, to reach out, because a lot of people are like, oh, I can do this myself, but then they get overwhelmed, and then they get stuck in I don't do anything. They become apathetic, and that's dangerous.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Katherine. It was an
Thank
honor
you.
to have you on, and I know we are so grateful to you for the services you provide to our community. What an amazing resource you really are for us,
Thank
and
you.
we're honored that you were able to be here today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, and I enjoyed it. I love helping people, so I can't help it.
Well, I'm sure people will be reaching out to you if they have any questions or anything. She's an amazing person to talk to. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.